Now at 6, the stage is set for the Democratic National Convention today. What to expect as President Joe Biden takes the stage tonight.
I have certain crimes. You cannot have a deportation.
What you need to know about an immigration program launching today.
Just why? Just what's the reasoning? Just why do it to something that's so pretty?
The search now for whoever destroyed a beloved mural in Pacific Beach.
You're watching CBS 8 Mornings at 6.
Thanks so much for joining us here at 6 a.m. Starting off your week with us on this Monday. I'm Eric Connard.
And I'm Neda Iranpour. We want to get you ready for a good week. So meteorologist Evan Irani is here to let you know how warm things are about to get. Hi, Evan.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, another warm one for today and tomorrow. The weekend was pleasant, a little bit warmer than normal for Sunday. You might have noticed out at the beach, those temperatures just each day kind of started to climb a little bit.
Yeah, we're starting to feel it now.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of where we reach our peak today and tomorrow. Tomorrow in particular, hottest of temperatures expected, and then we'll start to see those temperatures slide Wednesday through Friday. And that's as a trough of low pressure around the Pacific Northwest starts to sink in our direction. This afternoon, upper 70s and low 80s by the coast, 90s inland. So getting pretty warm out there across your inland valleys and toward the mountains at 95 degrees, 110 for the deserts. Coming up, we'll talk about the opportunity for some showers across the mountains. That's monsoonal moisture starting to drift back into the forecast coming up in just a bit. Back to you.
All right, Evan, thank you very much. And now, thousands of Democrats converging upon Chicago today for the Democratic National Convention, which will see Vice President Kamala Harris officially become the party's nominee for president.
President Joe Biden is set to deliver the keynote speech today. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is also taking the stage tonight. This comes as a new CBS News poll shows Harris is leading former President Donald Trump nationally by 3 points.
I very much consider us the underdog. I feel like we need to earn everyone's vote.
Are you better off with Kamala and Biden than you were under President Donald J. Trump? I don't think so.
Trump is back on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania today. Meantime, there's heavy security at the DNC, with thousands of demonstrators expected. Yesterday, protesters demanded action on reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, and an end to the Israel-Hamas war. And this morning, we are hearing from a local member of the Democratic National Committee who will be attending the DNC today.
Let's send it over now to CBS 8's Chris Crow, joining us here in studio with what he's revealing, this delegate, about the much-anticipated event. Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, good morning, Eric and Neda. And look, it's going to be all eyes on Chicago for the convention. Of course, we spoke with that local Democratic Party member who will be at the DNC. Here's what they had to say about the conversation surrounding the party, the platform, going into Chicago.
Sure that America is prosperous, that it is kind, that it is a great nation, and that we continue in our sort of gains economically, and that we don't leave people behind.
And that's Democratic Party member Will Rodriguez Kennedy. He says the Harris-Walz campaign is focused on a theme of freedom, the economy, and immigration, as well as reproductive rights. Those will all be major talking points in Chicago for the next 4 days. Immigration and the economy are going to be important topics for many San Diego voters. In fact, we already are seeing headlines coming out of Chicago. Democratic Arizona Senator Mark Kelly recently said a bipartisan immigration bill will get necessary Senate Republican support once Donald Trump is, quote, done and gone. As for the economy, the party platform proposes a $15 federal minimum wage, making the child tax credit permanent and making child care more affordable. Now, Rodriguez Kennedy says the party has been unified under Vice President Harris since that switch was made for her to be the nominee, and that her record speaks for itself. He also says that that same enthusiasm carries over to her VP pick, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
I think he's going to be a great vice president. And isn't it great to have a candidate that's like hopeful and optimistic and joyful, as opposed to like people who are like doom and gloom all the time? I think America wants to hope again. I think America wants to dream again.
Now, Mayor Todd Gloria will also be in Chicago for the convention. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And coming up here in just a few minutes, we will check in with our political analyst on what we can expect at the DNC this week. And now to other local headlines. New this morning, a homicide investigation is underway after a man was found dead in Boulevard. This happened Saturday afternoon in the 900 block of Tierra del Sol Road. Deputies say they got a call to help CAL FIRE with an unresponsive 75-year-old man inside a home. The sheriff's department says the victim's head was hurt somehow. The homicide unit has taken over, and you're asked to call Crime Stoppers if you have any information.
This morning, the man responsible for the death of a local veterinarian is now back in jail for the third time after being released early for good behavior. Veterinarian Clark Kelly died from a heart attack during a break-in at his clinic in 2022. Patrick O'Brien pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter and served 2 years of a 4-year sentence. We're now learning he has been arrested for a third time for violating his probation. According to court records, he is not eligible to be released again until June of 2026. Clark's family says they're not surprised O'Brien violated his probation, and they're glad the judge finally agreed with them that he's a danger to San Diegans.
I was so relieved, and the family was, very, very, I guess, happy. I don't know really the right word to say, but we felt that justice had been executed that day and that we were heard.
O'Brien cannot be released early for good behavior now, and he'll serve his time in county jail.
This morning, applications for an immigration program called Parole in Place are now open.
It offers undocumented spouses married to U.S. citizens an opportunity to apply for permanent resident status without having to leave the country. CBS 8's Regina Yarita live near the border now with details on this application process. Regina?
Yeah, good morning, Eric and Netta. And it seems like the wait is almost over for eligible candidates to apply for parole in place. Now, under the old federal law, people were having to head back to their home country in order to start their process to become a permanent resident. But that is no longer the case. We actually talked to an immigration lawyer here in San Diego about some of the changes for those who are married to U.S. citizens.
Traditional way is that they file the paperwork. They have to get what is called a pardon, a waiver, and then they have to go to the U.S. Embassy and get their green card. But that means they have to leave the country. There's a lot of anxiety. We don't know if they're going to come back.
Now, with this protection, eligible applicants will also receive a work permit as part of the program. But again, it's important to understand who is eligible in order to qualify. So you must have lived in the country for at least a decade and have married a U.S. citizen before June 17th of this year. You cannot have certain crimes. You cannot have a deportation or voluntary departure that you didn't fulfill. Now, with the application opened, you can begin gathering all your documents to prove how long you were in the country. Lawyers say they can ask for things like bills, doctor visits, or school records. As for the fee, it will be calculated before the application is submitted. So back out here, there is more information on our website. You can head to cbs8.com and click on this story. Guys?
All right, Regina, thank you very much for that.
All right, the warm-up has begun here to start off the week.
Yes.
And keep that in mind as the kids are picking out the clothes. A lot of kids heading back into the classroom here.
Last week when the kids were headed back to the class, we were talking about T-shirts and shorts. That holds true through the start of this week, today and tomorrow.
Okay.
But by the time we get to Wednesday through Friday, temperatures are going to start to slide a bit. That's going to allow for more comfortable conditions outside. I wouldn't say by that time frame that we're by any means suggesting that they throw on a jacket, but we are going to, instead of be dealing with 90s by that time frame, be working with more 80s. So temperatures are going to slide for that Wednesday through Friday time frame. For today, though, temperatures are climbing today and tomorrow. 79 along the coast. That's an average, although many of our coastal communities could be in the low 80s for this afternoon. 93 on average for the inland valleys, 95 for the mountains, and 110 for the deserts. Patchy cloud cover to start off the day. This isn't too uniform. There are many spots where you'll wake up to the overcast skies. There are some spots where the overcast skies will be a little higher up in the sky versus lower down to the ground. That's fog. So there are some areas where we see some fog today. And then there are also some spots on the map, North County, for example, where we don't have much of either. We have a little bit of sun. We have a mix of sun and clouds in some cases. That also goes for depending on how far east you are as to whether or not you're waking up to the sunshine. You see how that cloud cover is an issue that we're dealing with almost exclusively across the Bight, because if you look from about Santa Barbara County all the way down through San Diego, we're one of the few spots still working with that cloud cover in the morning stretch. Current temperatures out the door in the 60s, 66 for Oceanside, 64 for Encinitas, 62 for El Cajon, and 61 for Alpine. Ramona in the 50s right now at 55 degrees walking out the door. Along the coastline in downtown San Diego, we made it to 76 76 degrees on Saturday, 79 degrees on Sunday. Today, inland, we're going to be going for some 90s, and we're going to peak into tomorrow before those temperatures slide from Wednesday through the weekend. Let's take a look at how traffic is shaping up. Want to take you to two spots that are causing some delays this morning. First one is on the left-hand side of your screen. We've got a lane blocked and right-hand shoulder blocked, and with two stalled vehicles and spillage of gravel on the 8 westbound before Sports Arena Boulevard. Second thing to mention is causing some delays on the 805. We've got the number 1 lane blocked with a crash and debris on the road on the 805 southbound where it meets the 8. Let's take a look at your border wait times out the door. 100-minute wait at the San Ysidro Port of Entry, so about an hour 40. Otay Mesa Port of Entry is going to run you just over 2 hours. Netta?
Busy at the border. Thank you very much, Evan. Still ahead, we're going to check in with our political analyst as the Democratic National Convention begins today.